The best don't always win. If you still believe life rewards the fairest, the noblest, or the most sacrificial, you're living in a fairy tale, a story the system wrote to keep you compliant. To you, and everyone like you who still thinks merit is a direct ladder to success, here's the truth. Most people at the top didn't get there by kindness, effort, or clean morals. They got there because they understood something you refuse to accept. This world doesn't run on justice. It runs on power. And that hurts. It hurts because you spent half your life believing that doing the right thing, being loyal, working hard, would eventually be rewarded. But no. Instead, you locked yourself in a golden cage, decorated with pretty words like ethics, discipline, and honesty. Meanwhile, the real players, those who understood the game, made their moves without asking permission. And they won. Sound familiar? You see mediocrity in high places. You see corruption in command. You see manipulators applauded, while you, with your righteousness, watch from the sidelines, clapping for the very system that ignores you. And why? Because you confused kindness with strategy. You thought being a good person was enough. You never learned how power works. Friedrich Nietzsche saw this clearly over a century ago. We weren't made for blind obedience or endless sacrifice. We were made to conquer, to assert our will, to stop following rules designed by a morality that only serves those in control. Power isn't evil, it's necessity, it's life. And if you don't understand that, you'll fall behind. Ever wonder why rule followers rarely change the world? Because rules exist to control you, to keep you from thinking, from questioning. While you agonize over doing the right thing, others are 20 steps ahead, shaping the world to their liking. Not because they're better, but because they stopped asking for permission. Here's the problem. They taught you to fear power. They called ambition selfish. They said ego must be crushed, that standing out was arrogance. And you believed it. You accepted it as truth, never realizing this morality was crafted to keep you docile. Traditional virtue is a cage, and you're still trapped inside. Meanwhile, the real players break those chains without remorse. Not because they're evil, but because they grasped the essential truth. In a competitive world, being good isn't enough. You must be smart. Know when to speak and when to stay silent, when to advance and when to destroy, yes, destroy. Because sometimes, to build something new, you must break what holds you back. Nietzsche didn't admire the obedient. He admired those who created their own rules, the Übermensch, the ones who don't follow the crowd, who aren't afraid to stand out, who seek authenticity, not approval, who don't adapt to the world, they challenge it. And here's the uncomfortable part. These people aren't always loved. They're often rejected, hated, even attacked, because their very existence is a threat to the status quo. When someone walks with confidence, the insecure tremble. When someone shines with their own light, others feel their own darkness exposed. But that rejection? It's part of the journey. If you don't bother anyone, you haven't said anything important. If everyone applauds you, you haven't challenged a thing. Real success doesn't come from pleasing. It comes from impacting, from making people uncomfortable, from breaking structures and building something so authentic the world has to take notice. And that isn't achieved by being good. It's achieved by understanding power, by learning to play the game without losing yourself but refusing to stay naive. Because naivety is a luxury this world crushes. Ask yourself, how many opportunities have you lost because you feared seeming arrogant? How many times have you dimmed your ambition to avoid making others uneasy? How often have you stepped aside for someone less capable, just because they had more connections, more audacity, or more cunning? That's not humility. It's surrender. Competition isn't a choice, it's a fact. If you don't compete, you don't survive. And I don't mean competing with hatred or mindless destruction. I mean competing with strategy, with vision, with intelligence. You must read the board and move your pieces with purpose. Because if you don't play, someone will play you. Look around. Most successful people aren't there because they're the brightest. They're there because they mastered the game. They allied when necessary. They betrayed when it served them. They stayed silent when silence was power, and spoke when their words became weapons. This isn't cynicism, it's realism. Success doesn't go to the pure of heart, waiting for divine justice. It goes to those who know when to act, how to move, and when to bend the rules others fear to touch. Want a mediocre life? Keep waiting for kindness to open doors. But if you want to rise, learn to wield power, not to destroy, but to build yourself. Forge your path without begging for validation. Here's the brutal truth. Validation is a drug. The more you crave it, the further you stray from your purpose. Every applause you need chains you. Every outside opinion that sways you pulls you off course. And while you're desperate to be accepted, others are quietly building empires. Want freedom? Stop living to please. Stop molding yourself to others' expectations. Create your own rules. Stay true to your vision, even if it unsettles people. Because real success, the kind that doesn't depend on applause or approval, it only comes when you stop living in fear. Society's morality is a prison. It demands obedience, it punishes questioning. But tell me, how many obedient people made history? How many submissive souls changed the world? History is written by those who dared, who challenged, who refused to live by others' rules. Want to be one of them? Then stop waiting, stop asking permission, choose discomfort, choose courage, choose power. Conformists fear those who dare. But if you endure the pressure, if you withstand the judgment, if you keep moving despite the noise, you become unstoppable. So the question isn't whether you want success. Everyone does. The real question is, are you ready to stop being naive? Are you willing to learn how power moves, to wield it without losing yourself? To step out of the shadows and become the protagonist of your own story? Because success isn't given, it's taken. It isn't begged for, it's built. It isn't inherited, it's forged. And you? You've waited too long. It's time to move, time to act, time to stop being good and start being strong, truly strong. Strong like those who no longer ask for permission, who no longer crave approval, who simply decide to win on their own terms, with their own vision, their own power. Now let's confront what few dare to name: emotional manipulation. The very thing you despise in others but ignore when it's used against you. Society didn't just teach you to obey, it trained you to feel guilty for wanting more, ashamed for chasing power. They programmed you to believe ambition is a flaw, that ego is the enemy, that standing out is wrong, and you drank that poison with a smile. Every time you hesitate, fearing you'll seem selfish, that's manipulation. Every time you choose the safe path to avoid looking too ambitious, you're being played. Not by a dictator or a boss, but by something far more dangerous: collective conditioning. A web of ideas disguised as morality, designed to keep you trapped in an invisible cage. Here's the irony. The people who warned you to stay humble, to never stand out, were often the ones using that lie to keep you beneath them. The moment you question it, you become a threat. And threats? They're silenced. They told you strength was cruelty, that power corrupts, that speaking up is arrogance. But their real goal? To disarm you, to dull your edge, to make you manageable. Because someone who desires nothing, fights for nothing, settles for scraps, that's the system's perfect citizen. No trouble, no demands, just obedience. And while you struggle to fit into a mold that was never yours, others, without guilt, without shame, are building empires on the ruins of your doubt. They rise silently as you agonize over what you want versus what you think you should want. So let me say what no one else will. You have nothing to feel guilty for. Wanting power doesn't make you a villain, it makes you awake. The world belongs to those who dare to take it, not those who wait for permission. Wanting more doesn't make you bad. It doesn't make you less spiritual, less human, or less noble. To grow, to lead, to shape your environment, this is natural. Do you really believe it's virtuous to live in fear? To wait for scraps while reciting empty mantras about humility as you slowly wither inside? Nature doesn't reward those who wait. It rewards those who act, those who adapt, those who push forward. The lion doesn't ask permission to hunt. The tree doesn't apologize for growing taller than the rest. And you, with your awareness, your history, your intelligence, will you keep hiding out of fear of being too much? This isn't just about ambition. It's about identity. Every time you suppress your desire for power, you bury a part of yourself. You whisper, "I don't deserve to be stronger. I don't deserve to lead. I don't deserve to win." And though you never say it aloud, it becomes your truth. It seeps into your nervous system and starts making decisions for you. Look at your life. How many times have you chosen the right decision just because it caused the least friction? How often have you betrayed yourself in the name of harmony, peace, or balance? And what has that cost you? They sold you a lie, that surrendering your strength made you more valuable. But what they didn't tell you, in that process, you were surrendering yourself. And here's the most dangerous idea of all: self-annihilation disguised as virtue. That toxic habit of shrinking to avoid making others uncomfortable, of quieting your voice so you don't overshadow, of sacrificing your ideas to prevent conflict. You do it so often you don't even notice anymore. And the cruelest part? You feel proud of it, as if self-erasure makes you a better person, but it doesn't. It makes you invisible, expendable, forgettable. And that's the greatest punishment for someone with potential: to be ignored, not by others, but by yourself. So what do you do with this realization? When you understand that success isn't about being good, but about being awake. You do what survivors have always done. You wake up, not by becoming a monster, not by shutting off your heart, but by stopping the lies, by admitting what you truly want, by refusing to disguise your dreams as prudence. You need to feel hunger again, real hunger. Not for likes or applause, but for purpose, for direction, for influence. Because those who aren't hungry don't move, and those who don't move get left behind. We live in an era of overstimulation and emptiness. Everyone wants to be seen, but few know who they are. We were taught to project, not to build, to seem, not to be. And that kills more dreams than failure ever could. Because when you live only to maintain an image, everything inside you rots. True power isn't loud. It's felt. It's that unshakable calm of someone who knows their worth, who knows they could lose everything and rebuild from scratch, who doesn't need to prove their strength because they've embodied it. That kind of power isn't found in books. It isn't inherited, it's earned by facing the raw truth head on. And here's that truth. No one is coming to save you. No one will reward you for your goodness. No one will applaud your silent struggle unless you turn it into visible action. You could be the most virtuous person alive and still die forgotten, because this world doesn't value what you hide. It values what you do. Act, decide. Wield the power you have, not to dominate others, but to master yourself. To become the most awake, the sharpest, the freest version of who you were meant to be. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be real. You need to be strong. You need to remember. In this world, it's not about asking permission. It's about no longer needing it. Because once you stop begging for approval, you stop being a slave. And when you're no longer a slave, nothing, absolutely nothing, can stop you from building the life you deserve. Yes, the path is lonely. Yes, there will be noise, criticism, resistance. But remember, wolves aren't afraid of chaos. They move through it. They lead in it. So ask yourself, will you keep waiting for the world to reward your goodness? Or will you finally learn the game and start playing it? If you've made it this far, something inside you is already breaking free. That discomfort? It's proof you're waking up. But now, you must face what most refuse to see, the price of awareness. Because waking up costs. When you stop being naive, you lose the excuse of ignorance. You can't blame the system while doing nothing. You can't call life unfair while staying on the sidelines. Knowledge compels action, and that responsibility, it's heavy, like seeing a fire in a building full of sleeping people. Do you stay silent or shout, knowing it will disrupt everything? Now let's talk about your shadow, the dark side you've been taught to hide. Nietzsche didn't say to destroy it. He said to integrate it. Your shadow isn't your enemy. It's your untamed strength, your rage, your fire, the part of you that refuses to tolerate mediocrity. But you've silenced it so long it feels dangerous. Yet that's where your power lives. Your repressed ambition, its creativity wasted. Your buried ego, its self-esteem suffocated. Your denied rage, its passion without direction. What you ignore rots until it explodes. So if you want to be strong, embrace your shadow. Let it fuel you, not destroy you. But here's the line few dare to cross. Social rejection. Strength makes people uncomfortable. If you need universal approval, prepare for a small life. You can't be authentic and loved by all. Greatness always draws haters. Real decisions always face criticism. So choose, blend into the herd and disappear, or stand tall like a wolf and accept the consequences. This isn't about cruelty. It's about unapologetic ownership of your life. Moving with certainty even when others tremble. Doing what's necessary even if it unsettles them. Because if your freedom depends on others' comfort, it's not freedom, it's performance. Now the hardest truth, sacrifice. Not the fake kind, giving everything for others, the real kind. Killing the old you that lived to please. Burning the identity that kept you small. That's the price, and most won't pay it. It's easier to play the victim, to hope for external change. But transformation starts within, when you stop making excuses and start acting. If you think it's too late, you're wrong. Most people wake up when they've already wasted years, but even a late awakening beats a lifetime asleep. Because once you're awake, every moment matters. Every choice has weight. Success isn't an outcome, it's a state of mind. The unshakable knowing that no matter what, you steer your life. That's who wins, the one who moves forward, even when nothing is guaranteed. Here's the brutal truth. This world isn't designed for you to win. It's designed for you to consume, to obey, to doubt, to build others' dreams while yours gather dust. But you're not most people. You're awake, and that changes everything. If you want to win, you'll have to break the rules of the game. You'll need to disconnect from the noise, to stop living how you're supposed to live, and start living how you choose to live. That's not just rebellion, it's revolution. But be warned, it's a lonely revolution. People will say you've changed. They'll call you selfish, cold, arrogant. Let them talk. What they really mean is, we can't control you anymore. And that's exactly where you need to be, uncontrollable. Because real power isn't about putting up walls or shouting louder. It's about walking your path without needing anyone's approval. It's about looking anyone in the eye, knowing they don't define you, that they can't give or take anything you don't choose to give. When you reach this point, everything changes. You stop competing, you stop imitating, you stop hiding. You act, you decide, you build, because you've become what the system fears most, a truly free human being. And a free human? That's the most dangerous thing in the world. If your freedom makes you a threat, congratulations. That's the mark of someone who's truly awakened. You'll make people uncomfortable without even trying. Your mere presence will haunt those still asleep, not because you preach or demand, but because your existence challenges the mediocrity they've accepted. The way you live, fearless, unapologetic, becomes a mirror they can't ignore. But here's the hard truth nobody tells you. Success requires death, not just of your weak self, but of the comfortable version too. That nice, agreeable, helpful persona that helped you survive? It's holding you back now. Like a snake outgrowing its skin, you must shed what no longer fits. Every transformation demands sacrifice. The person everyone liked? That wasn't the real you. Just a reduced version, optimized to please. This is where most get stuck, clinging to their place in the herd, terrified of losing their spot. But that need to belong, it's slow poison. It leaves you surrounded but alone, known but not seen. So choose, belonging or freedom. You rarely get both. This isn't some abstract idea. It's brutal, real. It means lost friends, broken expectations, painful goodbyes. But it also means F-ending yourself, and that's worth any price. The easy path, stay who you were. The hard path, become who you could be. Easy to repeat old stories, hard to write new ones, especially when you don't know how they'll end. But I promise you, nothing hurts more than living a life that isn't yours anymore. Here's the final truth few dare to face. All success requires betrayal, not of others, of your past self, of what you believed before you knew better. Staying loyal to outdated ideas isn't virtue, it's cowardice. This isn't about changing on a whim. It's about having the courage to outgrow your own prisons. Some people would rather die consistent with a lie than live questioning everything. Don't be one of them. The world needs more dangerous people. People brave enough to burn who they were to become who they're meant to be. The ones who truly advance, the ones who leave their mark, all share one thing. They allow themselves to break. To shatter their old certainties, their comfortable lies, their safe excuses. They let themselves be emptied, so they can be filled with something purer, something realer. And you? If you're listening to this, you already feel it. What once worked for you doesn't anymore. What used to calm you now leaves you empty. You can't ignore the tension between who you were and who you could be. That discomfort, that's the starting line. But as you cross it, a new enemy appears. Nostalgia. That whisper saying, go back, you were happier before. The temptation to return to the mold, to the old you. And here's the trap. Sometimes, it's right. The pain of growth can be so raw you think maybe you should have stayed who you were. Don't believe it. The peace you feel in retreat, it's not peace, it's anesthesia. And anesthesia always wears off. So what do? You lean into the discomfort. You become fluent in uncertainty because uncertainty is the language of growth. Most people wait for guarantees, but guarantees never come. Great movements are born in chaos. Real leaders are the ones who move without a map. Then comes the loneliness. Not the kind that hurts, the kind that cleanses. That strips away the noise and leaves you face to face with yourself. No masks, no lies, just you. And that's where the real question hits. Can I stand without applause? Can I move without witnesses? Can I trust myself, really trust myself when no one's watching? If the answer is yes, there are no limits, because success isn't something out there waiting to reward you. Success is a mirror. It reflects what you've built inside. Want more power? Become stronger. Want more freedom? Become more responsible. Want more impact? Become more authentic. There are no shortcuts, no tricks, just the raw truth. You must become someone who doesn't need permission to exist. Not a new you, not an upgraded version, just you, unfiltered, unchained. And when you get there, when you stop trying to be anything, the world will have no choice but to see you for what you are. And that's power. If you've made it this far, it's no accident. Something in you is breaking and igniting. Only those ready for the next level can handle this much truth. So here's the final question, the one that marks the point of no return. Are you willing to become everything you're meant to be, even if it means leaving behind everything you've been? Because there is no leap without loss, no evolution without demolition. You will have to burn your comfort zone. You will disappoint some people. You will walk alone in silence while the herd keeps dancing to the same tired tune. But that's where the magic happens. Where doors you never knew existed swing open. Where you stop reacting and start creating. This isn't a motivational speech. It's a warning. A wake-up call for those sick of living numb, obeying rules they didn't choose, chasing dreams that aren't even theirs. This video isn't for the lukewarm. It's for those ready to stop being pieces on the board and start being players. Listen close. This isn't about having answers. It's about having the courage to ask the right questions, to admit that if you want a different life, you can't keep acting the same. Real power begins when you stop negotiating with your potential. Your strength isn't in what you pretend to be. It's in what you do when no one's watching. What you choose when you could quit. What you build while others just talk. So here's your mission. Leave this video and silence the noise. Shut off the outside voices. Listen to what you've ignored too long, the raw, brutal voice of your authenticity. Let it unsettle you. Then do what few dare, act. Because action is the only way to make this real. Now drop one sentence in the comments, just one, but make it heavy. Let it be the summary of what just ignited inside you. Comment, "I no longer ask for permission." That's how I'll know you're not just another spectator. That something clicked. If you want to go deeper to explore these truths, raw and unfiltered, hit subscribe. This is only the beginning. At Psychotic Secrets, we don't sugarcoat reality. We shatter it to build something worth having. See you in the next video. Or not. It depends. Are you ready to stare down what others still avoid? Until then, remember, not everyone is meant to wake up, but those who do, they light fires where others see only ashes. And you're already burning. Now turn off this video, if you dare. The seed is planted. Will you let it grow or let it consume you? Drop your comment, smash like. And if you're ready for more truths that cut deep, subscribe to Psychotic Secrets. The choice is yours.